Hello, welcome once again. It's Friday, it's 12 o'clock, and incredibly in the UK, it's amazingly sunny and warm. On time for our long weekend, our bank holiday weekend. So, if you're in the UK, I hope you enjoy it. If you are anywhere else in the world, I hope you enjoy it too. Look, we've got a really jam-packed session today, and what we want to be talking about today is very much about the whole subject of how to get hired in 2026. So, in other words, one of those ones whereby we're going to go diving into and look at all the different aspects of recruitment, looking for a new role, what's happening in the jobs market, what's changed, the real challenges and stresses that you have as well. So, all the different challenges that people are facing out there in the market and why it's so difficult at the moment to try and get hired, let alone actually get hired, to even get a communication from an organization as well. That is one of the biggest challenges I think that anyone seems to be having. As ever, if you are joining here for the first time, let us know, introduce yourself, say hello, let us know whereabouts in the world you are as well. I will get through to any questions that you've got as well. So please make sure that you putting in your questions into the comments. If you haven't done before, be really good to understand what there is and what's happening out there. I'll be keen to try and answer as many questions as I can do. Each session that we do here, it's all about yourself. It's about trying to find a way to navigate this particularly tough and this particularly hard market that we are facing out there. Whichever platform you're in, we're actually going simultaneously live, not just on LinkedIn, also on X and also on YouTube. If you don't follow in any of those, please do. You will be able to do that. We'll put in some links into the comments as well so that you're able to do that. And also, we've got the Get Hired community. That is a community of several hundred people now who have joined that to get tips, advice, share your comments, share some of the struggles that you're having. You'll be able to get on-the-spot advice in terms of what's happening, what's going right, what's going wrong. And it can be everything right from the beginning of your hiring process, from putting CVs together, applying for roles, what to do on LinkedIn, to interviewing, right the way through to negotiation as well, to negotiate the very best deal for you. How do you actually ensure that you're getting seen as well out there? So as ever, it's always good to see everybody. Martin, hi, good to see you as well. Hi, everyone. My first day after being made redundant yesterday. I am so sorry. That's a bit of a gutter. Looking forward to any tips, hints, or strategies you have. The good news is, Martin, look, we are going to be able to cover a lot of things. And perhaps this session is going to be a really good one for you as well, because it's very much going to be about, okay, how do we hit that market? What do we do as a whole overall strategy to really try and change that approach and what you need to be doing as well? But best of luck, Martin. I'm sorry to hear the news as well. Indeed, look, you're always going to have a lot of support here for it. Foxy, great to see you as well. I know I do this for free. It's about, I think it's really important to give back. Look, we've all been in these situations. I've been in this situation as well. And I've been in recruiting for 25 odd years. I've seen it and experienced it. And I've seen the different changes in the marketplace. When I started out in the big bad world of business, out of school, it was a long time ago. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it was a long time ago. Life was very different. Back in those days, it was all about go and get your CV together. I used to have to print them off at the local printers and you'd post them off to people. You see adverts in newspapers and then they would come back to you. But, for sure, it has changed right now. And that is also what is going to make a difference here today. Also for Foxy, big shout out, Foxy. Thank you very much. As you can see, I've got the Foxy's Lab mug here. If you're not following Foxy's Lab, please make sure you do. It is a fascinating, really interesting, entertaining, and indeed informative YouTube channel that Foxy's have. Please do, as ever, Foxy, put the link in the comments. Make sure that everybody try and get some more subscribers. You've got a whole mass in there as well. I know you're getting enormous viewing, and I'm not surprised because it's really entertaining as well. So please do check it out. But look, let's go in and let's dive in straight away to see what we want to be doing here now. And I talked about what it was like 30, 40 years ago when you were applying for jobs was very different to where we are in 2026. And that's sort of part of the problem, is that we're all conditioned. Our mindset is very much still set on that, what it was like in 1996, but we're 2026 now, and things have changed, and it's changed dramatically. Even changed from what it was maybe just 5 years ago, let alone what it was like 15, 20 years ago. Back then, it was all about applications. For someone like Martin, I'm sure, Martin, you're going to have this situation now that your family and friends are going to be super supportive of you. And they'll probably, the one question they'll be saying is, how many applications have you made? I bet you're applying for lots and lots of roles and you're not getting any response. And oh, yeah, it's difficult out there. Because quite frankly, if you're relying on applications alone in 2026, not only are you behind, but you're in for a really long haul. It'll be there for a long time before you get seen. And there are so many reasons why that's happened. The reality right now is that volume of applications, AI, and we'll talk about that in a second, things like the Easy Apply are just creating an overload of applications. So whereas before recruiters were probably looking at having job requisitions that they have and they're working on a particular role, and you might get in the whole life cycle of an actual job post that you've put up, you might get 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 applications top. And that would be a lot. But now, not only are you 10xing that, you are in some instances 100xing that. It is crazy. I have seen thousands of applications for roles, and that's part of the problem, is that because AI has been introduced now, it is easier than ever to apply for a job. In fact, I've seen numerous AI applications out there which will promise hundreds of job applications in a day, in an hour. You upload your CV, we'll take all the hard work for you. I can tell you now, it is probably the worst thing that you can do. That is not a good application of technology to try and help you. If anything, what it ends up doing is hindering your job search. So if you're thinking of doing it from that way, please don't do that. It's really not the best way to do it. Michael, good to see you. I don't understand how to navigate this marketplace now. How do you get in front of an employer? And you know what, Michael, that is a really, really good question, a powerful question, because that in itself is the real crux of it. How do you get yourself to be seen? And visibility is the key. If you are looking to try and get hired in 2026 in this job market, it's visibility. And exactly what Michael said, that's the conundrum that everybody has. Everybody's sort of thinking, how on earth do I do this? What do I need to do to try and make that difference? And it's absolutely right. And for sure, look, Foxy's sort of mentioning it here. You spend a lot of time each day on LinkedIn, make posts that add value, and most importantly, comment on other people's posts. Fellow people in your industry, comment on their posts in a way that will add value. The trick now is to get as much exposure as you can. And that's absolutely right. That is absolutely right. That is where you need to be making a difference. And we can talk about this and break this down. And you may have seen, I put a post out this week specifically about a modern job search strategy. And what I will be doing is in the Get Hired community, I'll be releasing this PDF, which is a 7-step guide for what you need to do. And for someone like yourself, Michael, for Martin as well, these are the areas we need to look at, because it's not just about applications. What it's about now is creating visibility. And LinkedIn is an incredible tool that will help you do that. I hasten to add, as I do every week, I'm going to talk about LinkedIn a lot today. I don't get paid a penny from LinkedIn, unfortunately. They don't sponsor me. I don't get any kickbacks from them at all. Nothing. I just believe in this tool because it is unique out there in the marketplace. It doesn't have really any competitors. And don't think of LinkedIn as just another jobs board. It's not. It is a professional networking site. It is a social media like anything else, but designed specifically for the world of work. In fact, LinkedIn themselves, they get super annoyed and they're not particularly happy. If you ever mention to them, oh, well, as a jobs board, you're this, that, the other, it's like you've just taken their families hostage. They do not like that at all. They are a professional networking site. They are trying to drive it like a social media site, but it has 1.2 billion people on it, all of them in the world of work, all over the world, in just about whatever country you're in. And we get a lot of people from lots of different countries. There will basically be everybody in your market. It's going to be on LinkedIn. So there is a platform out there that can help you get in front of those people. So what can be the strategy to then move it? And I appreciate, first of all, I caveat this, that the easiest path when you are looking for a job is thinking, I do my CV, I put it up, and I just apply for jobs. And I don't really have to worry about it and hope that at some point someone will see that and they'll come back in touch with me. Now, the failing of that is obviously we've talked about the volume of people who are actually involved in all of that, but also the fact that you're only actually sending that CV to be seen by one person, the recruiter, just one. That's all that your market is just for one person, and hope that as they're flicking through the hundreds, sometimes thousands of applications, they'll see enough in your CV to be able to say, I'm going to contact this person. What I advocate, and in 2026, is how you create visibility to all of your markets. So all of the employers that Martin has asked about here, this is where it is. This is what we need to do, what Michael has asked about in terms of getting in front of people. That's what we've got to try and do. And LinkedIn gives you that platform to be able to do it. So let's start right from the get-go. The first thing, which might make everybody feel a little bit uncomfortable, is building a personal brand. You've got to create the brand for who you are in that market, creating value. You are an expert in your field, and you need people to be able to see that. Now, I see, and I put up a post this week talking about that if I lost my job tomorrow, that I wouldn't apply for anything. I wouldn't apply for any single job. I'd go all in on LinkedIn. And inevitably, I get quite a lot of comments when I talk about this. But often I will get comments back from people who say, oh, I've tried that. I've tried it on LinkedIn. It doesn't really work. And then when you dive into their profiles, have a look at what they've done. They've literally scratched the surface. They've done one post in the last 3 weeks. They've maybe made half a dozen comments in the last month. This, unfortunately, when you're job searching and you're creating a brand for yourself, it's a volume activity. It's still got to be quality, but it's got to be volume, consistent volume. This is an everyday thing that you're going to have to do. And I would advocate, of course, it's not just for when you're looking for a job, but for the rest of your career, building your brand, so that what people that can't find you online, if they can't find you online, they won't know you exist. If they can't see it and you're just relying on sending your CV off for one person to look at, they're not going to see who you are. They don't understand what your value is. And the first place you want to start is going to be your LinkedIn profile, because your LinkedIn profile is like your shop window. So you've got to make it compelling. You've got to give them a reason to dive in more, to come into the shop, to understand what it is that you've got, what is the amazing service, the amazing products that you have, the brand, the value, everything within there. Now, I would add here, when I say I would never apply for another job. Obviously, you're going to have to apply, but you're going to apply strategically. You're not going to make that some kind of frantic application of hundreds upon time. It isn't that spray and pray. And that old way of thinking where people were given advice, apply in volume, just chuck it out to as many people. It's a numbers game. Don't play that, because all of the effort that you've got, putting it in to what you need to do on LinkedIn, that's going to make the difference for it. And when you're applying, quality beats volume every single time. So quality is always important, whether you're building a personal brand, whether you're doing applications, and also consistency of where you're doing. Number 3, and what I think is really important here, is you've got to network. Networking is sometimes seen as a bit of a dirty word. It probably has that idea of those sort of old 80s times where you put your suit and tie on and you're full of a little bit of chat and you're going around and pressing the flesh and doing all of that kind of thing. Again, it's changed, because what LinkedIn and what all of these platforms have done is provide you with that opportunity now to be able to network but in volume, to go out to all the people, and especially to go out to all the people that you can actually see yourself working for. That is what makes a really big difference in terms of what you do out there. And what's more important is that by creating that network, looking out there, you start to open up the hidden jobs market. Because believe it or not every job is actually advertised online. In actual fact, and the evidence out there and the data is out there can mix an awful lot, but it can be anything between 60% to 80% of all jobs never see the light of day. They never get advertised. They never get posted on a job board. Those are the kind of jobs where you're replacing somebody because they've left and you're thinking, well, I don't want, I'm just going to hold on to that for the moment, but I've got the budget for it, but maybe I'll do it a bit later. But quite often they then find somebody online, they can connect with someone, somebody reaches out to them. They think, actually, yeah, let's do that. I don't even need to go through a process. I found the right person for the job. Sometimes they've been referred into, so you have a recommendation for it. Sometimes they can be confidential. So they can be confidential roles where actually they're creating a brand new role. They don't want people to know. There's a competitive sensitive. They don't want people to know they're going to go into a certain market. So they keep that confidential. Sometimes it might just be that they're thinking about something that's going to be happening in 6 months' time. And then it just so happens the perfect candidate comes along and they think, you know what, we're just going to accelerate that hiring. We don't need to post it. We don't need to go through that process. We've already interviewed this person. We know that they're the right person for the job. So by making sure that you are networking and engaging, that's how you're going to start opening up that hidden jobs market. And if all you're doing is applying only, you're never going to hit that. You're never going to hit it. The real advantage about accessing the hidden jobs market is your competition drastically reduced. You're no longer up against 1,000 other candidates. You might be just the only candidate. That's the ideal world. Or you might be one of 2 or 3. Your odds massively increase. So networking is how you're going to do that. And how are you going to do that? Well, you've got to get conversations. So you have to start getting your conversations up there, understanding who it is in your market. So before you do anything, do your research. So you've created your profile, you've optimized your profile. So you've done everything within that LinkedIn profile that is showcasing who you are and why you're so good and what value you add. Remember, when you're changing that, your profile, don't think of it as that's my online CV. It isn't. It is there to showcase all the value, far more than what you can just do in your CV or your resume. Making sure that you're showing people what you can do. Don't just list the things that you've done in your job profile, but the value you've done, the actions you've taken, the differences you've made for that business as well. And once you've done that, then you need to get your researching hat on and you need to look out there and to start looking to see, okay, who are the businesses out there that I'd like to work for? Let's go and follow them. And they can be all the competitors that you used to work for, or who were competitors of your previous companies. List those, see who they are, the business partners there, all of the people within that sector that you want, or even the sector that you want to go to. List them all out and follow them on LinkedIn. And then once you've started following them on LinkedIn, start to see the people in there as well, because it's people that you need to create conversations with. And this is where it gets different, because where a lot of people think that if I'm networking or engaging, I just need to send them messages. Don't feel tempted to do that. You have to start creating your brand. And how you do that is to start engaging with their content. So commenting on LinkedIn is one of the most powerful tools that you can do. If you are commenting in value, in volume on LinkedIn with value, then you are absolutely going to start getting seen. And what the comments do is drives traffic onto your profile, because if you're like me, the first thing I'll do if I see a really insightful comment on one of my posts and I don't know who that person is, I'll probably click on their profile name and have a look at their profile, see who they are, what market are they in, what have they done. I'm then start looking at their posts and their content as well, so I can understand and get a good feel of them as well. From a recruiter point of view, that is critical, because what it does is gives me a massive insight into that individual. That's what I think is really, really important for you in terms of engagement. So really important to make sure that when you're doing that, you start to create those conversations en masse. You start to comment on people's posts, on the individuals that you need to get in front of. So Michael, when you're talking about how do I get in front of an employer, that's exactly how you start doing that in 2026. That's what this job market, that's how you make a difference, is finding those content, creating that, commenting on it. And you've got to take several steps to be able to do it. It's not that I do one comment and then I'm going to send them a message. It is starting to create that. And then when you see them, that they've come and looked on your profile, have a look and see what profile views you've had on LinkedIn. Then you can think, okay, they've come onto my profile, they've looked at it. They may not have reached out to you. So what's your follow-up strategy to that? And again, you can then work in various different strategies. So you can continue with your soft strategy, soft selling, which is making sure you continue those conversations online and prompt that. Maybe create something bespoke in terms of a post. So clearly, if they've put something together and you've commented on it and they've looked at your profile, it's a subject matter that they're interested in. So create your own post about the same subject, but with your perspective, adding your value, showing what it is that you can do as well. And that's where you can then people will start interacting with each other. Now, absolutely, after that point, if you're still not getting anything back, nothing wrong with then sending a message to them. So send your in-mail then, but don't feel tempted to say, here's my CV, I'm looking for a job. It is a bit of a dance, I know, and everything in you will want to just go straight out there. Here's my CV, this is what I want to do, I need a job. But what you've actually got to do is continue the conversation about value. I really enjoyed your post the other day. I thought it'd be really important to do. Maybe we should connect. I've been following you. I've got a new post that I actually put up. Thought you might be quite interested in that if you want to have a look at it. That kind of thing. And then what it will then start to do is to prompt familiarity, and familiarity will then prompt the conversation. Once you've got into that conversation mode, that's when you can start going down that journey, because the natural conversation will then be, actually, we're going to be looking for, what's your position? Are you looking for a role? Are you actively looking at the moment? Are you, and that's where you're having that win. And that's the win-win that you have next going through for that. So what do we do next in terms of the next stage of how we look at things? So it's about building skills as well. So the next thing you have to do when you're in this particular frame of mind is understand what's changed in the market. So the market is absolutely changing out there. So for example, AI, and I know we all hear this all the time, AI is changing the landscape of everything. Everybody's after AI. AI is replacing all the jobs. If you listen to all of that, nobody's being employed. The reality is that AI is super important and is changing all of our lives and the way that business is run. But AI isn't necessarily replacing jobs. What it's going to do is it's going to aid people, and the people who are not familiar with it or understand how to use it effectively, those are the people who will be replaced. So if you're not familiar with artificial intelligence, with the latest technology, go out and learn it. Go and make sure that you are super proficient, you know what to do, and you use that as your assistant. And by the way, when you're in a job search, it is super useful to do. So all of the things that you might feel really uncomfortable with creating content, commenting on posts, understanding and creating your own marketing plan, AI can be your partner. It isn't there to replace your words, because you should still use your words. But what it will do is it'll give you a prompt and give you a help to be able to do that. Okay, let's just have a quick look here. We've got a couple of questions that are coming through here as well. Hi all, I've been searching for a while and been focusing on a mix of applications and offline networking with mixed results. I mean, look, absolutely, and that's it really is tough out there. That is certainly true. I think certainly what you're doing there in trying to create a number of different things would be good. Without diving in specifically for it, I can't see where it is that you might need to improve on. But what I would also say is really important for you is make sure that the work that you do in terms of engaging, creating content, what you do on LinkedIn, that is something that consistently every single day you need to do in volume. By the way, you will hear people online that will say, especially when you're creating posts, and it's important that you create content as well, your own content. They'll tell you, oh, well, you only need to post once or twice a week. That's fine. And you can just do a few comments before and after that you post, and that will get you some visibility on that. Listen, if you're looking for a job and you know that you need to have the bills paid, you've got the mortgage to be paid, the rent to be paid, you've got all the different things, you've got to get food on the table. I can tell you now that 1 or 2 job posts a week and a couple of comments either side of it is not going to make a difference. In fact, it's probably not going to scratch the surface. You cannot post too much on it in reality. Now, clearly, if you were posting every minute on the minute for 24 hours, that might be excessive. And I'm not suggesting that. But what I'm saying is there is nothing wrong with you putting a post up a day, 2 posts a day, 3 posts a day, absolutely fine. It's not going to make any difference. What makes a difference is how good are they? Are they qualitative? Are they good quality posts that your target audience is interested in? So that if you are trying to get people in your market and you are setting out your content in a way that's not engaging, that people don't particularly like, is confused because it's not necessarily who you are, it may be not very authentic, then it won't get much traction. People aren't going to be responding to it and it just won't move. But if you're posting something that is valuable, that's authentic, it's very personal to you, that shares experiences that you've had, the value that you can add, and above all else, that for your target market, for your audience, that they absolutely are interested in, then 100% you're going to get traction. And that's what's important, is to do all of that. So you've really got to ensure that you know your market super well. And by doing that, you're absolutely going to make a difference. So creating content is important. It's not just about, I'm going to go on LinkedIn and I'm just going to do a direct networking. I'm just going to chat to a few people and do that. It's far more than that, because what the content will say and how much you have on that, that's what creates that brand. And that's what we talked about earlier, was creating that brand for you, to make sure that your personal brand is that you are seen as the expert in your area, in what your discipline is, in whatever service or product that you've sold or you've created, whether you're in finance, in marketing, in product development, whatever area it is. Showcase your skills. And you can do that by talking about it. And that's the difference. And make sure that you do a variety of different types of content. So look, what I'm doing here today in terms of a LinkedIn Live, now that's only available once you get to a certain amount of following. So once you get to that, absolutely do that. Or if you're not having that available, create video. And I know that is one of the big scary things. Just creating a post is scary enough for people. Creating video is. This thing here, I talk about it almost every week. Your mobile phone, its camera that it's got here, even the front-facing one, that is better camera than Hollywood was using 25 years ago. So you don't need big fancy equipment. You don't need a fancy microphone. You just need to hold your camera, talk to it, and talk to it for 20 seconds. Don't read a script, just be you. And if you do that, people want to see it. Make sure you can use CapCut. If you haven't got CapCut, absolutely get that, put it on your phone. Super easy to cut and paste to make sure that you've got it looking nice at the beginning and at the end. And put on subtitles as well, because believe it or not, I don't know about you, but I actually do the same thing. I probably watch most things on my phone rather than on desktop. And I'm flicking through when I'm consuming content. The bizarre thing is that most people don't listen to what's happening on the video. They'll just read the actual subtitles. They don't actually unmute it. It's muted by default. And that's because they understand that that's how people look at it. So you don't even have to worry what you sound like, because actually people are just going to look at the subtitles. So 100% do that. I think a real variety. Create a newsletter. You know, a weekly newsletter, a monthly newsletter just adds more value. It's a longer form piece of content that you can actually do. And there's nothing wrong with text ones. I've probably had the biggest impressions of content. Over 1 million impressions have come from a simple text post that took me less than 10 minutes to write and put up. It was that quick to do it. It just so happened, I guess it was right time, right place, right information, something that resonated. People reposted it, people got interested. There was a lot of engagement with it. It just worked. Now, you're not going to necessarily get that for every piece of content you do, but the point here is this, that it doesn't have to be all fancy. You don't need to be sitting there for hours on end trying to tweak it, trying to do it. Speak from the heart, create a really compelling hook so that people will see it when they're scrolling through, and make sure you have some kind of call to action there. And if you can do that, absolutely people will do it. And don't feel tempted it needs to be super long or over a certain length. I've seen posts out there that have performed really well that are just 3 or 4 lines. So you can absolutely mix it up, create what you think is really, really good from that point of view as well. And don't forget, I know I keep saying about comments and commenting, treat those are like micro posts. They're little mini posts that you do. So it's really important to use that opportunity, especially when you're commenting on other people's posts, is to create that opportunity to add value. So really insightful. It's tempting just to put congratulations, great post, really interesting, but add something else to it as well. So again, add some value, your own personal insight. It's absolutely fine to disagree with something, but do it respectfully, professionally, and add your perspective as well. Don't forget, everything that you're posting there, what you're trying to do is to showcase people how you respond to things, how you act, how you can add value, what difference you can make in a business. All of the things you're putting up there is like you're in an interview. It's online all the time. People can see it, which is why it's so powerful. Because what it does is it actually constantly shows you, as an employer, what this person can be like coming forward to us as well. So look, really important to do from that point of view. I know that I'm sure that any of you will probably think that, yes, creating video is probably one of the most scary things to do as well. And yeah, Foxy, exactly. Video is only scary at first. Eventually, you get used to talking camera. And Foxy is a fantastic example who will, and I hope you don't mind me using you for this, but right from the get-go, when Fussy's been part of the Get Hired community, right from the get-go, spoke very openly about the fact that pretty introverted. I'm really going to be really out of my comfort zone doing this. And now he's got a really successful YouTube channel where he's put himself out there. He's speaking to camera. You can do it. Anyone can actually do this. And 100%, right from the start, it'll feel really scary. Just creating your own text post will feel scary. When I first started, I had the same thing. I would sit there and procrastinate for hours, if not days, about a post, worrying about what somebody might feel about it. And it's that sort of imposter syndrome that we all have to get over. But if you can push yourself through that, I can assure you that within a 2 to 3 week period it usually takes, that imposter syndrome disappears. That little voice is pretty well minimized so that you can hardly hear it at all. And that's what I think is really, really good to do. Then you've got to look at, okay, how do we then take all of this content that we're producing, all of this stuff on LinkedIn, how do we get conversation? Because a lot of the questions I get back from people is often people will say, right, I'm doing all of this and they're looking at my profile, but nobody's sending me messages. Nobody's reaching directly out to me. Well, sometimes you just got to give them a little bit of a prompt. Sometimes you've just got to give them a little bit of a nudge just to help them along the way. And that's where, as we spoke earlier in this session, that's where you can do really good strategic messaging to people, in mail to people. If you're following or if you've connected with them, you can just send them a message. But don't feel tempted to just say, I'm looking for a job. Here's my CV. Don't feel tempted to do it. However much you want to do that, if you've not spoken to them before, that's not the best first introduction. Do it engaging. So in other words, I've seen your post. I really enjoyed this. This particular post you did really resonate. Thanks for commenting on my post. I've created this. I saw you looking at my profile. Great to be connected, and all of these kind of things. That's how you should be connecting and starting the networking process. You're creating a conversation, and the conversation can't be, hi, I'm looking for a job, here's my CV. Because essentially all you're then doing is you're just dragging the old application only strategy and you're just shoving that onto LinkedIn online. That's not engaging. That's just something that will force people to stop. And to put it in perspective, I get hundreds of messages on LinkedIn every single day, hundreds. And I can tell you a massive proportion of them are exactly that, of people just sending me a note saying, I'm looking for a job, here's my CV. And I know they've sent that to 100 other people. It's not personal to me. It's just, here's my CV. I'm looking for a job. Here's my CV. Let's set up a time to discuss it in more detail. If I did that and answered every single person that was asked, I wouldn't get anywhere. I just couldn't do it. It's impossible. So don't feel tempted to just shove that in as well, because that will absolutely create a bit more of a blockage. It actually is counterproductive. So engage really well with it. And if you're doing that little nudging, that will absolutely help. Also, on LinkedIn, you will have that capability of being introduced to other people as well. So feel free. LinkedIn will show you that and say, you can be introduced to this person by such and such. You have a mutual connection, and you can utilize them to help you. They can help do the introduction. So you can absolutely either reach out directly to them and ask them, say, look, I'm really interested in doing that, or you can do it via LinkedIn as well. And that would be a really powerful way of making sure that you sort of cut through the noise, as it were, to make sure that we're doing that. Most importantly here is that, and that's why if you're just sending these kinds of messages, it feels like AI. We're living in an AI age where there are lots of AI posts, that AI screening, AI creating CVs. We're seeing AI all the time. And how you stand out is becoming and engaging like a human, because that's the bit that will be valuable in the AI age, the human skills. And if you are clearly engaging, whether it's commenting, how you're targeting companies and leaders, building familiarity, creating conversations as a human, that's going to make you stand out. People are going to want to see that. They're not hiring an AI person for it. They're hiring a human who knows how to use AI. And that's going to be making a massive difference. Now, before we get, and as ever, we're flying through this session as ever, I wanted to just put in a few of the sort of the big mistakes to avoid. And I know we've talked about all the things we should be doing. I thought it would be quite useful just to sort of collate together the tools to avoid for it. First and foremost, again, we spoke about it, that mass applying with AI tools. If you see an AI tool out there that is promising you the world and promise you that it's going to apply to all of these hundreds of jobs, thousands of jobs, it'll guarantee you a job, move on, do not do it, don't use it. Number two, relying only on CVs. If you are just relying on your CV to get you through and get you seen by people, again, you are going to be there for a long, long time, and months, if not years, before you get to see someone. You can't just rely on that strategy anymore. It doesn't work. Thirdly, posting just the once and then disappearing and hoping that it'll just do the job. I've put a post up there and that's it. I've done my bit for the day. I've done my bit for the week. I don't need to do it. Consistency is really, really important. So consistently posting, consistently engaging, doing your follow-ups. I know it can seem a lot. If you are actively looking for a job, if you've been made redundant, you're going to have a bit of time on your hands. Use all the time that you probably would have thought of sitting in front of your screen and applying for lots and lots of jobs and creating all of this activity on LinkedIn instead, because that's the proactive way and that's the way that you're going to get seen. Fourthly, don't connect without engaging. So if you're going to start connecting with people, whether it is following them, sending connection requests, etc., Make sure you do a campaign of following up. Make sure you engage with their posts. Make sure you engage with all of the content they're doing. Make sure if you're sending a connection request, always put a little note with it as well. Don't just send it off and hope somebody comes back to you. Explain why it is. Explain some value. Don't just say, I'm looking for a job. No, just explain why it is, or the fact that you share a connection. That could be really good. And then finally is waiting for something to happen. The sitting back and hoping that somebody's going to speak to you isn't going to do it, whether it's sending applications, whether it's create my posts and sit there and wait. No, you have to be proactive. We're in an age, bizarrely, that we have more technology than ever and AI than ever to try and help things happen much quicker and much more qualitatively. But we're in a time where you have to be really proactive, and I would argue probably more proactive than ever. It is absolutely the person who is doing this full strategy of engaging and speaking to people and connecting. They're the ones that are going to win in 2026. It's really important to make sure that we do that as well. Okay, so look, that hopefully has given you a lot of different things to try and help you with a core strategy of how to go forward and what to really do. I think, really importantly out there is to know this. If you are actively looking for a job and you're either out of work or you're looking for one because you don't particularly like the job that you're in at the moment, but whichever way it is, the first thing to understand is this: you're not alone. There are plenty of other people out there in the same position as you. It is hard. It is tough. Unfortunately, I can't promise that by following all of these things, it's an easy solution. It's easy answers to everything, that if you do all of this, then magically by tomorrow, you're going to get a new job. No, I can't promise that. But what I can do is to say this, is that one, by keeping really busy, the most important thing to get rid of the stress, get rid of the worry that you will naturally have by keeping busy and keeping in control of your own destiny, that this proactive branding, engaging, networking way will absolutely keep that stress at bay. It will really help you keeping your own mental health good. I think that's super important to be effective as you go through, and especially when you start having conversations with people, when you start having interviews, because they'll become critical, because there's not going to be hundreds of them, not like the old days where you would get a whole mass of interviews that you had to do. So you could practice on a few, and if they got wrong, it doesn't matter because I've got back into the flow of it. So it's really important to just remain like that. We've got a couple of different questions we'll take just before we get to the end. I can see one here from Michael. Good discussion. It's been really interesting. Thank you very much. I can see one here also. You asked, how often would you chase a person before it is harassment? That's a great, but you know what? That's a great question. A really, really good question. It's important to see what you're trying to create here is you're actually trying to create conversation. You're trying to engage in conversation with people. And if you've sent a message to somebody and they've not responded, yeah, there's nothing wrong with sending a follow-up 5, 6, 7 days later. Quite often, one of the failings of LinkedIn, and it's great in a lot of things, but it does have some failings, it's sort of how it manages your messaging, and especially if you're getting lots of messaging on LinkedIn, is not great. It's not an easy tool to navigate. Sometimes messages can be lost. So for instance, when you open up a message, it can suddenly, then you think, oh, I'll get back to that later. 2 days later, that message is gone, never to be seen ever again. And so it's important to then do a follow-up to understand that. But how you follow up is really important. How you follow up engaging in a way that doesn't feel harassing. Sometimes put yourself in their shoes. So how would you like to be conversed with? How would you like to actually get a follow-up as well? But don't just feel in terms of follow-up that actually sending yet another message is the way to follow up. There are lots of other ways that you can do it. And engaging on their content, and indeed creating content that's important to them that they might see, that's also a way of following up. Because I can tell you this, from my own personal experience, have seen messages from people and think, oh yeah, I must get back to them at some point. I'll come back to it, and then completely forgot about it. It's just gone down in the inbox. And then a few days later, I've seen a post suddenly appear from them. And LinkedIn will probably push that post because you've had a message, you've looked at it, you've opened it, you might not have engaged and responded to it, but it'll make an assumption that's what it is. The algorithm will help you in that case. But that post that I saw prompted me to go, oh yes, I remember. I needed to respond to that email that I got from them. I then go back into my LinkedIn email, filter it, find the person, respond, off I go. So look, it's a great question to do. I think it's really important to make sure that you have that. Okay, listen, once again, I'm afraid time has flown a lot, and we've got a bank holiday coming up here now, and the weather is really good. I now am going to enjoy this long weekend for myself. Wherever you are in the world, enjoy this weekend. I hope it is fantastic weather for you. Spend a great time with your family. If you're going through the job search as we are now, obviously my support is always with you. Make sure that you connect, follow myself if you haven't. There's lots of insights that we have. We have a free community on the Get Hard community. I'll make sure that we have the link in the comments for you as well. Enjoy the weekend. Have a fantastic time. It's great to see you. Enjoy, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.